Spiritual Center, Holmes Institute, and Oneness University in India. His personal mission is to assist people in awakening to the healing power of self-love, acceptance, and more expanded, deeply personal God that is greater than any problem. So please help me welcome Reverend Mark Anthony Moore.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Such a pleasure to be here in Columbus. I forgot my belt, so if I do this a couple of times, forgive me for that. Better than the other option. I want to begin by recognizing how blessed you are to have Reverend Molly as your minister. Really, I've known her for years. I knew her before she came here to found the Spiritual Center, and her heart is beautiful, and having traveled around the country working with so many spiritual centers throughout my years, I really can tell you, you have one of the best. You just really do, so you're very blessed. And I will say, because you have more, because you have one of the best, you also have a greater responsibility. So breathe that in and allow yourself to embrace the realization that sitting here in the heartland, in a very precious part of the country, there are so many people that are in pain, seeking and needing a revelation of a new God, seeking and needing and wanting a freedom from the chains and the bondage of old ways of thinking and don't even know where to get it. So please don't be shy about what you've got here. Please don't hold back. Share what's working in your life and invite others to be a part of that. That's just my personal mission, to share with as many people as I can, because it's precious here, and you've got a few more seats to share. So we want to fill those. My most recent book is called Thou Shalt Not Suffer. It is the new commandment for the new era, of which we are currently living. We are living in a new era, a lighter consciousness. We are literally living in a time of evolution in humanity where what is possible today literally was not possible 10, 15 years ago. The way that we're thinking, the way we're conversing, the way we're able to heal, what is possible today was not possible then. It's a fantastic time. There's only one big old problem that many of us have, which is that we were born in the old era. The new era is so new that everyone in this room, except for maybe one or two, were born in the old era. So you are what I call the bridge people. You are the people that are ushering in the transformation from the old way of thinking and being. Inherent in your mind and your energy system are the beliefs of your parents, your grandparents, and your ancestry, which no longer serve in the new era. So here we are, the people that are being born today, they just got it made. They're being born into the new era, into a new vibration, and the many beautiful things they'll be able to do. But your calling and your incarnation is absolutely perfect, because you said in your soul, I will be a bridge person. I want to be born in the old consciousness, and I want to usher in the new light. I want to be a part of that. That's what your soul said, and that's what you created. That's what you caused. So let's look at the old era for a moment, because one of the agreements of the old era is suffering. The old era says, thou shalt suffer. It doesn't have an actual commandment, but you all know it's written in there, right? It's in between the lines. You're expected not to be selfish. You're expected to put everyone else first. You're expected not to even have needs. It's too vulnerable. You're expected to be fiercely independent. Well, you can have needs if you get sick, right? That's a socially acceptable way to have some needs. You can have needs if you're moving through some life transitions. But let's be really real about our culture. Even if someone dies in your family, you get 3 days off and then you're back to work. Right? So the old era, if I may, is suck it up, keep going, and pretend that everything's okay. Don't let people see your underbelly. Don't let people know that you're afraid. Don't let people know that you don't know what the hell you're doing at times. Pretend. pretend. That's the law of the land of the old era, of which we all were trained in. Many of us, myself included, I got an A+ in that land. I learned well. I learned all of those things. How to put myself last. And the danger of that was what got cultivated inside my mind and my body was self-hatred, self-rejection, shame, fear of not being enough. Those are not of God, by the way. I know we know that intellectually, but if you're like me, which I'm guessing you are, you also know when those things get triggered and ignited inside of your being, they're pretty powerful, aren't they? And they cause us to shrink, contract, pull out, disappear. That was the old era. That's what worked for some reason, of which I don't know, but I don't need to know. But what I do know is that it ended up not working for a very long time. The tension and the pain of it got so great that the breakthrough started to happen. The breakthrough started to occur. I like to imagine it, although I just make it up in my head, that new light started coming to the planet, through us, which allowed us to begin to be able to have things manifested, like we're just getting the fruitions of the amazing, one of the greatest revelations of that I'll share with you is like the example of the 12-step program. Brilliant, born in the old era, a light that was born in the old era, but when it first started, you had to be, my family's filled with alcoholics, but they weren't alcoholics because they could still maintain their job 3 out of 5 days. Right? That's not alcoholic. Sure, they passed out and they didn't remember, but who doesn't? Who does that? Sure, it's a party, right? In their mind, the alcoholic was that other guy who was in the back alley, lost his home, lost his job, lost everything. Then you shamefully crawl into a back door of a building to start working on your problem. That's the era that this light came into. But because the light was so powerful, and because it's grown stronger and stronger and stronger, there are now so many 12-step programs. There's not just one. Recovery is happening all over the world every single day. Millions and millions and millions of lives are being saved because of this light called the recovery. And people are able to find those rooms before they lose their job, before the relationship's end, before major suffering and catastrophe and a tsunami has to happen. This is the evolution, and this is an example of what's possible today. Parenting is another example of old era, new era. I'm not a parent, but I have some. And come from a large family. And back then, and this is generalization, so I know there's exceptions, but stay with me for a moment. Because of a large family, everyone was treated equal. Everyone got the same thing. And that was good parenting. Saturday night, everyone got the one scoop of ice cream. Everyone was equal. Everyone made sure that was, we were just like a nice, pretty group of cattle that were herded all in the same direction. Today, parents are deeply interested in who are these children? How are they individual? What do they need? How are they different from each other? There are conversations being had today in the new era of how to better understand and serve their needs so that they can become adults that are more in their genius. The school system I went to, and I'm trusting you, most of us too, was a graded system. You could read or you couldn't. You did science. It was very, you either fit in or you didn't. But there weren't other options. Today, there's so many options. So many options for children. It's a new world. And our work, especially your work, because you're here inside of this consciousness, is to get over that bridge to the new world so that you can be a part of bringing that to many that want to be a part of a new, easier way of living. But in order for you to get across the bridge, you must leave your suffering baggage on the other side. That's the good news. It's a lighter ride over there. The bad news is, you really love your suffering baggage. Let's be honest. You think it's pretty. Some of you put Coach labels on it, Louis Vuitton labels on it. Some of you are so proud of your baggage because it's old and it's antique. Some of you are so proud of it because it goes back for generations. We actually are attached to our suffering ways. And your mind says, yes, of course, I want to be free. Give me that. But don't think you don't have another emotional part that's like, I'm not giving this up. That's the tension. That's the tension we live in. So we must build a large enough vision of what's possible for ourselves so that letting go of the baggage just becomes a little easier. Nothing wrong with you because you're attached to some of your suffering patterns. Everybody is. They worked as long as they worked, and they're not working anymore. Are you okay with that? Can you say, my suffering ways don't work any longer?
My suffering ways don't work any longer.
Can you say it again? My suffering ways don't work any longer. No, they don't. And that's what my latest book, Thou Shalt Not Suffer, is about. There are 7 steps, because what you get when you surrender your suffering is that you get to live a life of joy. So I've kind of explained, giving you some examples of what suffering is like. Let me tell you what joy is. Joy is your inherent, natural state of being. It is who you are, and it is not dependent upon anything of this world. If you hear nothing else today, hear that. Your joy does not require anything of this world. It is an internal experience. It is generative unto itself, and when you choose it and cultivate it and fan the flame of it, it will grow inside of you independent of circumstance. But here's the miracle. Here's the miracle you're seeking. When the joy expands and grows and becomes who you are, it changes your circumstances. Isn't that awesome? It's independent of circumstance, and yet it changes your circumstance. So here's the good news and the bad news. I always like to bring it that way. The good news is you have within you all that you need. The bad news is you got to believe it. Well, that's good news too, isn't it? No bad news here. No bad news on this one. The good news and the good news is the joy that you're seeking is already inside of you. You're wired with it. It's in your cells. It's in your DNA. It's in your mind. It beats your heart. It is literally who you are. You just weren't taught that in the old era. We forgive them, we release them, that's what it was. They told you you were separate from your joy. They told you that if you got a bigger house and a better car, and you did this, that, and you got married, and you had X number of kids, and blah, 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 then you get what you want. But it's the opposite. Spiritual teaching gives us the opposite of what the world is, because the world is not of the same consciousness right now. So we have to go within and go, oh, the opposite of what I was told. The opposite of what I was taught. Everything that I get in the world will make me happy momentarily. And then it will do what it will do. But if I generate joy within, then I'm playing a whole new game. Brené Brown, who I love, Brené Brown wrote a book called Daring Greatly. She says that joy is one of the most vulnerable emotions. Isn't that fascinating? Joy is vulnerable. I was intrigued by that. And I had to do some thinking and some research on that. And it now makes sense to me. Your joy is vulnerable because when you get joy, more joyful and more joyful, guess what's going to happen? You're going to get happier and happier for no reason. And eventually all the people who love you are going to go, what's wrong with you? Eventually you're going to hit the ceiling that says, who do you think you are? Eventually, you're going to hit the ceiling that says, you know, you have money problems. Do you really think you're allowed to be this happy? And then if you really keep being happy, it's going to start pointing to other countries. You know what's happening over there, don't you? How dare you feel good today? Until every baby on this planet is fed, I think you better keep that light down. That's what's going to happen. And when we bump up against that, if you're not conscious of it, you'll contract and go back off the bridge to the old era and not even realize it. Joy is vulnerable because it shines and it's unapologetic. And it says, you have to be you, gosh darn it. And I have other words in my head, but I'll say gosh darn it. You have to be you. And the world needs you to be happy and free and vibrating in your joy. And get over your suffering self that thinks it's doing any good in this world. Come on, applause for that. Joy says you feeling bad serves no one. The old era says feel bad, and maybe if you feel bad enough, you'll get to heaven where the reward is. But you know differently here. You've given up the belief that there's a place where you're going to one day be accepted into, walk through these pearly gates, and then maybe you'll be able to feel this joy. That equation is not true. It is a false equation that we all have swallowed. But giving that up means that your joy, your heaven, the consciousness of freedom is now. Are you with me?
Yes.
So some of the steps, I'll focus on two. One of my favorite steps, by the way, is forgiveness. And people do not know how to forgive. They don't know what it is. They don't know how to do it. And I will tell you, I have the secret of how to do it. Forgiveness has transformed my life like nothing else. It is my number one transformational spiritual tool. I will tell you how to do that Wednesday night on my free webinar, if you sign up. Now you're thinking, are you kidding me? I'm not kidding you. But here's the good news. You have 3 days to mess up all you want. You don't even know what you got to forgive until Wednesday night. So it's this afternoon, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, go hog wild. Wednesday night. I'm being serious. I would love for you to join me for that. It's going to be a very focused conversation on forgiveness. If you can't make it Wednesday night, sign up. We email you the link. It's completely free. But I want to focus intentionally there. Today, I want to move to a couple other steps. One of them is wanting what you want. This is required in the new era. To want what you want. Unapologetically, lavishly, gloriously. And the way to do that is to give up the selfish definition. You know, when I was a kid, and I write about this in the book, I was like 5 years old, and we were walking in, I think it was Kmart. Did you used to have Kmart around here too?
Yeah.
Walking in Kmart, you know, I'm 5 years old. The balloons, the colors, the toys, oh my God. I want everything. I want a truck to pull up and I just want to load all of what's in Kmart and take it home. I'm 5 years old. That's what I wanted to do. I want this, Mommy. I want that, Mommy. And finally she turned to me, she said, will you stop being so selfish? You want everything, I'm going to take you out of here. And in that moment, something froze. My wanting makes Mommy mad. If I want a lot, then I cause harm. So I've got to learn how to dumb this way down fast. I felt so bad. I felt shamed. My wanting became mixed with shame. And then my wanting became, now it had to become passive-aggressive. Anyone else? You don't even have to raise your hand. I know I have brothers and sisters in this room. Your wanting is natural. You're a wanting creature. Every breath you take is a want. Every inhale you want air. Every time you eat, you want food. You want all day long. But most of your wanting has become so fulfilled that you don't even think about it. But to want is to expand. To want is to dream. To want is to experience your glory of who you are. Now, because wanting is so messed up in our culture, we currently have people that consume so much trying to fill an empty hole that they have. Do you know one of the number one growing businesses in America is? Storage units. Storage units. Hoarding is now a disease. But in America, and other parts, don't mean to beat us up, but in the Western world, We have tried to, because this wanting has got out of whack, many of us find ourselves just trying to fill an empty hole with getting things bigger, better, more. And then we judge all of that. We feel bad about it. We're recycling our shame and our judgment. The other side of the spectrum is deprivation. Those of you who don't even let yourself want, don't even bother. If you want, you won't get it anyway. Don't even bother getting your hopes up. Depriving ourselves. Anorexia. We have anorexia around wanting. We have complete consumerism and hoarding. And somewhere in between, there's a healthy middle. And depending on where you are, we find ourselves at different points of the spectrum. But to just want, to be right in the center of wanting, is to just feel desire with no attachment on whether you get it or not. You see, our world, and even this teaching, has become polluted with, well, you get to have everything you want. Come on, y'all, you don't need everything you want. You don't need, or you don't really want everything you want. But wanting of itself just feels good. And if you let your wanting muscle get back working instead of being so atrophied, it's got to get back into motion. When you get a healthy wanting muscle, you will know that which you truly desire will rise to the top. And that which you truly want, you will have built your muscle to magnetize and attract it. But the first step is just letting yourself want for the remembering of how joyous it feels. There's a story I love to tell. I heard this when I was in India studying. And it's a story of two people, an awakened and an unawakened man, who in the morning desire to have ice cream. Ice cream is the big deal in India, by the way. It's what they always use. I'm like, we can get ice cream. I can get you ice cream in 2 minutes here. Their ice cream is the big deal. So the unawakened man realizes he wants ice cream. He wants ice cream. And so all day long, he's pushing through his work. He's focused, I've got to get this ice cream. Because you see, the ice cream is in the other village. And the store closes at 7. So he's got to get all his work done. He's got to find his way to the other village so he can get his glorious ice cream. So all day long, he's pushing past people. All day long, he's just focused on the ice cream, doing a shoddy job. Just getting it done. Doesn't matter. I got to get what I want. Finally, he gets all his work done. And he finds a ride to the other village. And he's getting on his way to the village. If you've ever been to India, you know they get to stop at any point for as many cows as want to cross the road as will cross. So he's bumping up against cows. He's bumping up against dogs. He's bumping up against trying to get there. Finally, he gets to the other village and he runs to the store and it's 7:05. And he's so upset. And he's so mad at God. God, why do you make me want ice cream and now I can't have it? Can you relate? God's fault. Why do I even want this? So upset, so dejected, such a victim. Such a poor victim. Only me on that one too. The awakened man, he says, ice cream. I want that. And he enjoys the wanting of it, but it doesn't consume him. He stays in his day. He does his work well. He notices the people around him. And as throughout his day, he notices someone says, I'm going to the other village. Great, could I catch a ride? Easy. He's right there. His work completes, he meets his friend. They go to the other village. They run into some cows, whatever. They're having a nice conversation. He's enjoying his desire. And he gets there to the ice cream shop at 7:05 p.m. What does the awakened person do when they arrive at 7:05 and the store is closed? Doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. He's not a victim. There's nothing wrong. He doesn't beat himself up. It was fun to enjoy the desire. He enjoyed the journey. He didn't make the wanting so all-consuming that it blocked out life itself. That's what some of us do. Some of us do that. So finding your place of healthy wanting for the joy of it. Doesn't that sound wonderful? So be curious. Notice where you're blocking your wanting. Notice where your wanting is driving you to miss out on life itself. Notice where your self-esteem is wired into it. Notice where you get out of whack around your wanting. One of the other steps I want to focus on for a moment is called generously receiving, which kind of goes hand in hand with wanting what you want in the other steps. And I call this step generously receiving because, again, old era, we're so conditioned, and everyone knows this, it is better to than. Yes. Oh, you Holy One. Give it all away, but have no needs. Give, 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 give. You're a better person. Do you know what you are at the end of the day of giving, giving, giving without receiving? You're a pain in the ass. You're resentful. You're entitled. You're bitter. And you're writing a story on 5 people in your life you love, who should be appreciating you, by the way. I'm in agreement with you. I think it's their fault. Clearly, you have given everything to them. Clearly, you work harder than everybody else. I agree with you. And so what? What do you get? You get to feel bad and blame and feel taken advantage of because you have not balanced it with receiving. So I say we have to generously receive because we haven't been doing it for so long. You know, when something isn't open, you got to really open it up. You got to overload on the other end until you create this wonderful balance. So to open yourself up, to be willing to receive. Here's the challenge of this one. You must acknowledge that you have needs. That's the yucky part. That's the yucky part. Because again, in the old era you did a really good job of looking like you don't have any needs. But when we pretend we don't have any needs, you know what that makes you? That makes you needy. Which is the thing we really don't want to be. So I invite you to embrace that you're needy. You are so needy. You're needy. You are so needy. You're not buying that one, half of you. Oh, try it out for a moment. Be willing to acknowledge that you need, and that this loving universe is here to fulfill your needs. The more you need, the more you expand, the more you allow, the more this universe can help you. The universe says one word. Please get this. The universe says one word, and it is yes. It's the only word it says. It says yes. No, I'm going to add 2 words. It says yes, my beloved. It says yes, my beloved. Whatever you want. Whatever you want. Whatever you need, it is yours. It is all yours now. So the only thing that's blocking your needs being fulfilled, the only thing blocking it is you and your fear of what it will mean about you. So all of these constructs in the old era, they're crumbling down. They no longer work. The new era, you're free to want, you're free to share, you're free to receive, you're free to shine. You're free to forgive and then live your most glorious light. And when you do that, the world will begin working for everyone because that's your mission. Your mission is that the world works for everyone one person at a time, right? Something like that. So one person at a time, you are called to step both feet in the new era. And inside this new era, you are being called to transform and surrender and shake off the old ways that don't work. And in the new era, you will be so happy. You will be so free. And you will know that being vulnerable is your strength. When you really get to the heart of vulnerability, you will discover the strength that's inside of it. I do know that. It's a continuing growth. But I know the joy of being so vulnerable and so real and feeling so strong in the moment. Part of the reason you're so strong in your vulnerability is when you're really sitting in the middle of it, no one's got anything on you. What can they do? You beat them to the core. You are really messed up. I am! You really don't know what you're doing. Hallelujah, you're right. I feel horrible here. I'm just sitting in the middle of this feeling, and suddenly their love will rise up, because it won't be a victim stance. It'll be a genuine place of just recognizing what's occurring, not as the definition of who you are, as an experience. Just an experience that's coming and going and passing through you. And you're available to feel it. You're available to have it. And you're even available to share it and be seen. And when you're seen, your light will begin shining. So are you willing, joyful peeps? Are you willing to move out of the old era and live in the new era?
Yes.
Are you willing to lay down your suffering? That just works for 30 minutes. Are you willing to lay down your suffering?
Yes.
A little bit, one little bit at a time.
Yes.
Even just to notice it. So, ooh, this is my commitment to suffering. And even notice when you're not willing to give it up. That's a big step, isn't it? I am really committed to being a victim here, and I'm really aware I'm not giving it up. At least I know that much. That's a step in the right direction. Are you willing to give up your victim stance? No! No! Maybe tomorrow. But today, both feet are in. That alone, that awareness is everything. The next time, first time you're over your head, next time you'll just be coming out of the water. There'll come a time where the victims are here. Yeah, I'll just step right out of it. But you gotta accept yourself where you are. And please don't make yourself wrong. Please stop judging yourself. Please stop it. Everything that happens, don't judge it. From the darkest thought to the deepest desires to all that stuff that the world has said, don't think that, don't want that, don't feel that. Stop judging yourself. God does not judge. Love does not judge. Life does not judge. Every dirty little raunchy, silly, whatever desire that lives in you, there's no judgment. So don't you judge either. Stop that game. And you will already catapult into the new era by giving that one thing up, by surrendering that. Yes? All right, take a deep breath. I have no idea what time it is. I'd say it's time to move into prayer. So I invite you to within, I invite our band to come into place. I'm going to invite our practitioners to come up and just hold this space with me. Stand beside me. Your practitioners are here for you. Your practitioners have studied the power of prayer. They have studied these things, and they're committed to walking this path in their own life. Far from perfectly. Far from perfectly. We don't hold that against them. We honor their willingness to do it and to support you in doing it. These practitioners are here to work for you, but you need to need them. Stop pretending you got your act together. They will not judge you. They're just going to love you. If anything, they're going to inside going, oh my God, I do that too. They're here to pray for you, so please hold this space. As I turn within, I invite you to turn within. And receive, receive, receive. Breathe in. As I speak the word of God as an ever-expanding light of joy and freedom. I speak the word of God as a living presence right here and now. It's effortless being. It's creative power. It's life upon life upon life. No death, no lack, no limitation. God is the field of pure potentiality. And the resounding yes that is here fulfilling that which desires its expression. And we are it. We are the very life of God itself. Here and now, I am the love of God. I am the power of God. I am the freedom of God. I am the truth, the wisdom, and the eternal joy. I am the light itself. And as I know this to be true about me, I know that this is true about each and every one of us. We are that joy. We are that vibration of freedom. We are that truth and wisdom. And here and now, I declare that we are free from the old era of lies, of lack, and limitation, contraction, selfishness, and believing that putting ourselves first is wrong. I deny the old era of suffering, and I declare that it is draining out of our minds, our bodies, and our hearts. Here and now, we become free. We become free. Affirm with me, I am free. I am free. I am free. I am free. Say it like you mean it. I am free. I am free. I am free. I am free. Bust out of the shackles. I am free. I am free. I am free. Generate the energy from your body temple to lift you up into a higher consciousness of being. I am free. I am free. I am free. I am free. Breathe these words in your body. Breathe them into your mind and heart. Breathe in the freedom that you are. Breathe. In your heart, I am free. I am free. Imagine the people sitting next to you and all around you, and out loud, gently say, you are free. You are free. Give them the gift. You are free. You are free. Together we say out loud, we are free. We are free. We are free. We are the freedom of God. We are light itself. We are the very vibration of joy that needs no reason for being because it is. Take a moment, and anyone that you're in your family or friends or the world that needs a prayer, hold them in your heart. Extend your love to them and say to them, you are free. In your mind's eye, you're free. You're free of that sickness. You're free of that suffering. You're free of that story. You're free of playing small. You're free of pretending. You're free. Send them freedom. As you give freedom, it multiplies. See the people in your life as free. Lift them up. Lift them up. This is what prayer does. We lift each other up. In this vibration, we send a great ball of love to Reverend Molly. We just shoot her so much freedom, so much joy, so much upliftment. We give thanks for her consciousness. We give thanks for her service. We raise and we praise her. Take a deep breath. Receive, receive, receive. Joy has been ignited. Freedom reigns supreme. The shackles have been cut. We are free. We are transformed. And I claim for each and every one of us that we leave this room walking in the expanded consciousness. We cannot shrink back. And when the old comes up, we awaken and we go, oh, that's the old era. We move into the new era with grace and ease. We let it go. We let God. Whew, with great gratitude, I release this prayer now into the action of the law. I know that it is done. And together with great joy we say, and so it is.